2019. Year of the shitstorm. You see, it hardly even started, yet the skies are already brown and shit is flying all over the place with all the major companies working around the clock just to destroy their own fanbase. Be that Bethesda with Fallout 76 or Blizzard with the Diablo announcement
Plan is to be on mobile.
or EA with just being EA. While all that is very interesting and fun, the most important thing that is happening right now, in my opinion, is the rise of Epic Games to be one, if not the most influential player in the gaming industry. In the near future, their status might become something similar to Microsoft in the 90s. For most people, Epic Games is just the developer and publisher of Fortnite, but actually Epic Games is the developer of Unreal Engine, same engine that Fortnite is using and the same engine which runs almost all of today's AAA titles. And thing is, there's hardly any competition to their engine. Unity, which is wrongly considered by some indie devs as a decent alternative, is actually an amateur's toy compared to what Unreal Engine has to offer. There's also Amazon's Lumberyard, which is former CryEngine, which might become an alternative in the future, but as for now, Unreal Engine is the engine to go for any game with decent graphics. Now Epic Games receive 5% royalties of any games released with their engine. Considering the fact that almost all of today's AAA titles are run on Unreal Engine, do the math. True, some studios still work with Unreal Engine 3 just to avoid the royalties, but still you can imagine Epic Games makes a lot of money this way and they are very much interested in helping developers. They even have the Unreal Engine Grants program, where they literally give money to developers just to help them complete their projects. They pretty much go out of their way just to teach people how to use their engine, including things like video tutorials, live stream, and solid documentation. They're very much involved with the developers community, and not to mention the fact that the engine itself is completely free, and it comes with a full open source. You only have to pay 5% royalties, and that's just incredible for indie developers. Now all the recent success with Fortnite has given Epic Games the opportunity to grow even further, and they have started promoting their own game store or launcher. And by the way, it's the same launcher that you use to run Unreal Engine. Now, that move puts them in direct competition with Valve, the creator of Steam, and the gaming community responded very negatively to it. The first reason being that Epic Games took the exclusives approach, and that thing tends to get people very angry for very obvious reasons. People usually want to have their games in the same place and they don't like to be forced to do anything. Second reason being the fact that Epic Games Store doesn't have a review system at all. Some even went as far as to say that Epic Games wants to censor criticism of bad games. But that claim is of course ridiculous. We are on the internet, guys. Nobody can silence here anything. What I think is actually most interesting to note is that this has created a situation where the Steam Store is siding, so to say, with the customers, while Epic Games Store is siding, so to say, with the developers and represent their interests. Now, it's not the lack of reviews thing that is so appealing to developers about Epic Games, despite what some people might think. There are other much more significant factors, like money for example. Epic Games only takes 12% of what's sold on their store, while Steam takes up to 30%. Epic Games would also help developers get their games on Twitch and YouTube and generally really go out of their way so you actually make and release a quality product using their engine. And that is totally understandable and actually very good for all of us. On top of that, I doubt that we are going to see games from Epic Games Store sold on G2A anytime soon, if ever, which also means less risk for indie developers. So what do we draw out of all this? Is this good? Is this a bad thing? Who should we side with? And what do I do if I enjoy both creating games and playing them? First of all, let's be realistic. Chances are that this is just going to stay another launcher like Activision or Origins. True, it's a little bit different, but still, Steam is probably not going anywhere. So many people have precious game collections on their Steam accounts. And exclusives, they're usually not forever, and it's just a few games. Second of all, ironically, Epic Games represent customer interest by helping developers. We all eventually want to play better games and we all want indie companies to succeed, and Epic Games does a lot about that. Now, for the review thing. Epic Games will certainly continue adding more features to their store if they want to promote it, and if they don't implement reviews, people will just take it elsewhere, which is not necessarily a bad thing. The review system never stopped Steam from being full of absolutely worthless and shitty games. The only real threat or danger which I can actually see from this move is if too many developers will move to Epic Games Store, leaving only the shitty games on Steam, completely ending the competition and making Epic Games a monopoly. But I am certain that Valve will not stand aside and probably start caring about developer interest a little bit more, which is also a great thing. This is competition. So that was my 2 cents as both a gamer and an indie game developer, and you tell me, what do you think about this? Who do you side with in this battle of titans? And do you have Epic Launcher installed, or perhaps you're the I only use GOG fuck DRM kind of person? Tell me in the comment section, I'll see you guys soon.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have
Everyone's got a
phones,
phone.
right?